Welcome, colleagues. Settle in. For those I haven't had the pleasure of working with yet, I'm Dr. Damian Wolf. In my 15 years or so of interviewing anomalies here at the Foundation, I've honestly seen it all. I mean, everything from toasters that bend reality to, well, literal interdimensional bureaucracy. But today we are unpacking a really uniquely unsettling paradox. We're calling it the innocent anomaly. I mean, how exactly does a subject that acts like a completely harmless toddler mandate some of our absolutely most terrifying containment protocols? Well, let's figure it out together.
So really think about this. How does a pleasant, seemingly normal 3-year-old girl earn a highly dangerous Euclid classification? Now, you all know the basics. Euclid is reserved for anomalies that are unpredictable, things we don't completely understand, requiring incredibly strict procedures just to prevent a breach or, massive loss of life. Normally, when you picture a Euclid class entity, your brain goes straight to something monstrous, volatile, or just inherently malicious. You definitely don't picture a little kid playing with building blocks. Yet this particular subject demands protocols that rival our most devastating, world-ending anomalies.
All right, let's get right into Section 1, a deceptive anomaly.
Now, from a psychological standpoint, which is kind of my bread and butter, the sheer mundanity of her traits is what's truly fascinating. Physically, SCP-053 appears exactly like a normal 3-year-old girl. She's capable of basic speech, and cognitively speaking, she actually shows slightly above average mental development for her parent age. She displays perfectly age-appropriate behaviors and has a generally pleasant personality. I mean, just contrast your typical childhood reactions, the tantrums, the unpredictable mood swings, with her unique cognitive state. She rarely ever seems upset. But, and this is a big but, there's one critical behavioral trigger you absolutely need to note. She becomes distinctly agitated in the presence of groups. This sudden aversion to crowds, it's one of the very few outward hints that her cognitive state is entirely alien to a normal human child.
And because of that slightly above-average mental development, she needs proper stimulation, so her 5x5-meter containment area is set up practically like a high-end daycare. She's provided with toys, books, and games, all rotated every 3 months, so she doesn't hit a wall of cognitive stagnation. We give her proper bedding, top-tier medical facilities, 3 meals a day, and even 2 snacks upon request. Honestly, it's a way better setup than most junior researchers get in their dorms, right? It sounds so utterly benign, a perfectly normal, nurturing environment. But make no mistake, this mundane, cozy facade is absolutely necessary to keep the anomaly docile.
Which brings us to Section 2, the lethal cognitohazard. Okay, this slide perfectly illustrates the intense cognitive disconnect we face as researchers here. We are literally contrasting a child who just wants a snack and wants to play with teddy bears against extreme, lethal cognitohazard effects. Here's the brutal truth. Any and all humans over the age of 3 who remain around SCP-053 will rapidly become irrational, severely paranoid, and violently homicidal. The dissonance between a kid asking for a juice box and the reality-bending aura of lethal paranoia she naturally projects is just staggering. This isn't just a bad mood rubbing off on people. It is a profound, reality-altering cognitohazard.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the timeline of this hazard. If any human over the age of 3 makes eye contact with her, physically touches her, or just hangs around her for longer than 10 minutes, the cognitohazard takes full effect. We have incredibly strict rules regarding eye contact avoidance for a very good reason. Locking eyes can immediately bridge that psychological influence. But even without eye contact, mere proximity starts the ticking clock. By that 10-minute mark, the irrational paranoia kicks in, severely compromising the subject's brain chemistry and ultimately culminating in immediate, fatal cardiac risks.
Once a person is infected, they fall into this grim, completely inescapable behavioral loop. Step 1, they will attempt to kill or violently drive off all other humans visible to them. Step 2, they pivot, directing all that homicidal rage specifically at SCP-053 herself. But here is where the metaphysics of the anomaly truly manifest. The very second an affected subject does any physical damage to SCP-053 in their attempt to kill her, they will suffer a massive, catastrophic heart attack or seizure, dropping dead mere seconds later. It's a literal metaphysical trigger. You cause her harm, you experience instant biological failure.
And look at this quote from the file. SCP-053 will regenerate almost instantaneously from any wound, regardless of severity. Just think about that for a second. This incredibly rapid cell recovery completely defies all known human physiological limits. No matter what a paranoid, infected subject does to her, she is virtually indestructible. The metaphysical implications here are absolutely fascinating to unpack. It's almost as if reality itself rejects any alteration to her physical form. It snaps her back to a state of perfect health instantly, while simultaneously terminating the aggressor.
Moving on to Section 3, Strict Containment Protocols.
Now, I know these entry protocols might sound a little paranoid to some of your new transfers, but trust me, they are written in blood. To enter her room, personnel must don a full atmosphere containment suit and an eye shield. Zero physical contact can be made without this suit. Just imagine a hypothetical scenario where a junior researcher trips and accidentally brushes their bare hand against her arm. That brief, tiny bit of physical contact is enough to instantly trigger the cognitohazard. Furthermore, the researcher has to be attached to a safety line of steel cable for immediate extraction, and they absolutely, non-negotiably must evacuate before that 10-minute threshold is reached.
Number 1. Just 1. That is the absolute limit. Only one member of personnel may be present in that room at any given time. And we can link this directly back to our earlier psychological observation, right? SCP-053 becomes highly agitated in the presence of groups. By restricting entry to a single individual, we minimize her distress and, frankly, drastically reduce the number of potential victims if a containment breach or cognitohazard infection actually occurs.
And that leads us to Section 4, Emergency Quarantine Procedures.
So, what happens when the clock runs out or human error inevitably occurs? Well, here are your immediate warning signs. Acting erratically, screaming, attempting to grab SCP-053, or attempting to remove the containment suit. If literally any of these occur, it means the cognitohazard has breached their psychological defenses. At this point, that steel cable we talked about comes into play. You pull them out. The compromised staff member is immediately yanked from the chamber and placed in mandatory quarantine. Listen to me on this. There is no negotiating with the infected. None. Their cognitive state has already shifted entirely to homicidal paranoia.
Also, please notice the absolute ban on sharp objects or firearms under any circumstances whatsoever. Why? Well, we already know SCP-053 regenerates instantly from any wound, so the weapons aren't banned to protect her, they are banned to protect the staff from each other. If a researcher succumbs to the anomaly, the very first step in their behavioral loop is to kill visible humans. We are simply denying them the tools to easily execute their colleagues before the cardiac trigger terminates them.
And consider this incredibly profound cognitive disconnect. SCP-053 appears wholly ignorant of the absolute carnage she causes. She ignores affected subjects completely. When we've questioned her about the effect, she is simply incapable of responding. From an advanced psychological perspective, we really have to ask ourselves, is her mind completely compartmentalizing the violence happening right in front of her, or does she genuinely lack the perceptual ability to even see it? She just maintains this pleasant, innocent, childlike persona while adult researchers suffer fatal heart attacks right at her feet.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought for today's explainer. We so often classify anomalous abilities as survival traits or defense mechanisms, right? But is it truly a defense mechanism if the subject is entirely unaware of the absolute horror they unleash? SCP-053 forces us to confront an anomaly that is both the innocent victim of our containment and the lethal architect of our paranoia. I want you to carry that question with you into the field. Thank you for your focus today, colleagues. Stay sharp out there and stay safe.